All right, can everybody hear me? Yeah, I can hear myself, so things seems like we're ready to go. Hello, I'm Mike Carter. I'm a program manager on the Applied AI team, the Azure Cognitive Search product. So I'm happy to see everybody here at Ignite. You look like you're all ready to go and talk about knowledge mining for industry-specific solutions. So what will this be about? So we're going to cover first what is knowledge mining. There's been a couple other sessions and that at the conference so far where you can learn a little bit about what knowledge mining is, but I'll give you a little quick intro. I'll talk to you about what products you can be looking at and where we sit in Azure, so you'll be able to kind of find us later. I'll have some GitHub kind of links for you to look at later. Everything that I'm going to talk about from a code perspective, you can find and download yourself later. Feel free to take pictures of whatever you want, but don't worry. The links will be in the deck later, and you don't have to kind of stress about not being able to find something if you think it's particularly interesting, which I hope you do. Okay, so let's get started. Okay. So this is kind of a standard image that you see when we talk about knowledge mining. A common problem that people have is I have a huge mass of documents, and it doesn't have to be specific paper documents. It doesn't have to be in binders. It could be photos. It could be other types of images, scanned documents, or actual PDFs or Word documents that just need to be cracked open. But the point being is that you have a big pile of information that you're trying to sort through and build an application on top of and make your workers, let's say, at your business much more productive and able to kind of get what they need to do. Now, the one big problem is that that pile could also be a pile of this, right? And so that guy's smug, right? And we're trying to avoid that being what you have to look at when you, or what you think of when you see that pile of documents and make you actually be able to get done what you need to do in any given day. So where we are in the product is the Azure Cognitive Search team, like I said. So when you're looking for us and we just go through the Azure portal, please do go look for Azure Cognitive Search, create a new resource. We sit as part of the Azure AI group, and so you have AI apps and agents, right? That's the Azure Cognitive Services themselves, as well as the bot service. We're kind of in the middle between that and machine learning, so AML, Databricks, and that kind of thing. We put all of this, and it's kind of a good place to be, we put all of this to work, and we stitch it all together into a content processing enrichment pipeline at scale. That's the easiest way to kind of pitch what it is we do. So let's kind of get moving forward a little bit and talk about what that pipeline actually is. So there's the three phases that we go through: ingest, enrich, and explore. So ingest is point at any data, right? It doesn't have to be a SharePoint drive, or it doesn't have to be a database. It pretty much could be anything. You can have unstructured data that needs to be enriched anywhere, and that data could be binaries, it could be flat text. All of that could have information that you need to kind of extract out and build a more powerful application on top of. The enrichment phase, that's where we come in. We take and run cognitive skills, that's what we call them, on top of your unstructured data and put it into either a search index or what we call the knowledge store, which is where you can do analytics or then stage it to go in some other application infrastructure. Could be any database that you then build your own applications on top of, because it could go right back into whatever data store you use for your application. So let's kind of move forward just a little bit. See if I can do it. What is it doing? Oh, see, that's what it was. I had to get to this slide. So everybody's going to have different problems, and that's what this session is about. This session is about different industries have different content, and they have different knowledge that they want to extract from that content. So how do we come in, and how do we help that problem? So I'll have 4 examples that we'll talk about. I'll have Alberto come up and talk about the work he's doing with the Port of Valencia and the solution that he's built, and I'm looking forward to a great demo from him, and I'm sure it will be very enlightening. And then you can kind of see what people are able to do with this today. But from an industry perspective, there's different verticals, right? And so there's different content and different types of information that they work with in all of these verticals. For government, for example, you can think about the rules and regulations that working in government require, and the things that you need to make sure that you're checking for in your content, and that people aren't violating the laws by having information in the wrong place. Same thing that like an enterprise would need to deal with, but let's even more so for a government customer. Tourism, right? Brochures, and can I find like port of call information and immigration kind of information, making sure that that information is readily accessible. Financial services. This could be legal documents. It could be business information and transactions, being able to find the history of sales at a particular business or deeds and that kind of thing. Legal, right? And legal is a big one because a lot of documents and a lot of content that doesn't necessarily have the right amount of processing on top of it. Contracts, understanding the terms of the contract and the ability to kind of look into the contracts a little bit more than just a flat document. Healthcare. One of the biggest scenarios for healthcare is record keeping. Like when you go see a doctor and they enter in information about drugs and diseases and disorders that you might have, having that record go from just being maybe paper written notes to digital and then being processed and enriched so that you can actually get more information out of that piece of paper that you never were able to get before. Manufacturing, this is an interesting thing about manufacturing is sometimes it's records and paper that's being passed around through divisions of the company and the history of what's going on in this manufacturing company, where that's readings at like one area of the company and reading those and actually being able to process them at scale. And energy, right? So this is like, let's say you have oil wells or an oil derrick out in the ocean. They're doing readings on that all the time. They're processing these, and a lot of times they're still working with paper, and they're still trying to make sure they understand the history of different devices and how they are performing, and whether they're performing well or whether they have an issue that they need to fix. But what's interesting is that all of these different verticals, they have different problem domain spaces that they come from, but they also have similar use cases that they're trying to solve, right? Like when they're looking at these problems, many of them are facing the same problem. So like digital content management, they all have a problem of a massive amount of information or assets that they want to keep available to their users and be able to find later. Customer feedback, a lot of these have customers, and maybe except for in the case of the government, they actually care about what their customers think. Right? And they want to actually make sure that they're doing the right by their customers and able to help them out as quickly as possible. Data extraction for process management. And this is that kind of flow. You've got a steady stream of information coming in, and you want to be able to react to it quickly. You've got a business process that you want to be able to react to. And you take what amounts to flat information and turn it into an enriched set of content. Technical content review and research. This is if you want to build a library of information and make your workforce more productive, right? How can I make information available at the fingertips of my employees so that they can, for example, respond to a request for a bid for a new job? But unfortunately, there's just so much technical detail out there locked down in these flat websites that just have no enrichment or no metadata on top of it so that I can't find what I'm looking for. And the last is audit and compliance. This is like making sure that we're not at risk of something, that we don't have, let's say, personal information sitting out on a website that anyone can see at the company, right? And keeping it secure and having like audits running on your data so that you can find things like that. And so these industry solutions that we're talking about here sit at the intersection of a use case and an industry vertical. And so we'll talk about a few of these. The Port of Valencia, can get the thing to move forward. The Port of Valencia is a digital content management solution for government. The Royal IHC, they make deep sea drilling and dredging equipment for manufacturing, but they had some customer feedback issues that they wanted to solve. I'll talk a little bit about them and what they did to solve that. And then iCertis, for auditing for legal documents, they do contract analysis, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. And Howden. Howden does kind of the auxiliary mining equipment, like ventilation and the like for mines, and they wanted to make sure that they had a good way of storing their technical repository so that people can find what they're looking for when they're trying to support their bidding process. So let's go a little bit into what does this mean? Like what are we actually talking about here? Some of the information that you want to extract, you'll be able to do with the built-in skills. So you hook these into the enrichment pipeline, and out of the box, you'll get a lot of functionality. You'll be able to do, for example, sentiment analysis or location entity extraction. If you mention a state or a country or some sort of location, you could just pull that out and be able to attribute that document, let's say, or that blob of text, that it contains mentions of Orlando or Florida or something like that. Same thing with organization and person any extraction. These are just using the regular text analytic APIs that you may be aware of already. But we integrate this into the content enrichment pipeline at scale. And so some of these, like the first 2 rows there, have existed for a while. We have some new ones coming now. So these are all the text analytics scenarios. So translation is a new skill that we're kind of talking about at Build. It came out a few months ago. But this is the ability to translate a single language coming in to potentially many languages on the way out. So if you have, let's even say that you have content in multiple languages, but it's singular or less than what you'd like, you can have the output of this skill produce it in all of the languages that you're interested in. And obviously it's at the quality that a auto translation tool is able to produce, but it's much better than starting with nothing, right? Document cracking, and we'll talk a little bit about the document cracking skill. So for a while, we've offered the ability to crack documents open. This is like taking a Word document and give me all of the displayable text out of it. In the first phase of processing the content, now you can actually have it as a skill so that you can do more around the document cracking. I'll talk about a scenario where that might be interesting. And then, oops, I hide the custom entity lookup. That's coming soon, right? So that's not out there yet. I'll talk about what the custom entity lookup skill will be. I'll walk through a demo of what that is and hopefully make that particularly interesting. The bottom 5 skills here are about vision, right? Face detection, celebrity recognition, image tag extraction, which is all about making what could be an image that has no searchable content in it as it starts with, and giving it a caption, giving it some keywords so that you can actually find that image later, right? And instead of just maybe only having a file name or whatever metadata was on it, like location that it was taken or something, and actually making it useful to you. So you got image, you got text, and then we talked about those are the 3 new skills that I'll talk about today. Now, we're not going to solve all your problems with the built-in skills. You'll need to have your own custom skills, and that's pretty much what we're talking about today. Or what can you do with custom skills, and what solutions can you build if you have your own custom skills? And it doesn't have to be AI. It doesn't have to be really complex. It can be. It can be an Azure Databricks. It could be Azure ML. It could be an Azure function. A custom skill is just an internet-facing API call that we can make. If we can reach it with our service, you can host it, you integrate it into the pipeline, and at scale you can process all the content that you need to process. And so I'll give you some pointers about how to write a custom skill, what some good things to do, potentially some bad things to do today as we move on in the session. And now, before we kind of go into the depths of creating a custom skill, I want Alberto to come up and talk a little bit about his work with the Port of Valencia. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Mike. Hello, I am Alberto, the CTO of Encamina. Encamina is a technology company in Spain that works with our customer to transform their business using Microsoft technology. With the Port Authority of Valencia, that is one of our customer, the port is the most important port in the Mediterranean, Spain. Works in 3 cities. He works in Valencia, works in Sagunto, and works in Gandia. They have a lot of innovation projects. They have an innovation project to improve the information and improve the business of the port. And one of the projects have to they need to give the information, give to the historic document of the port to the citizen. They have a document from the 19th century, and they have to give this information to the citizen. They need to read this information. Basically, they need to share the knowledge of the port. They need to share the knowledge of the historical document for researchers and for citizens that need to know about the history of the port. The solution is based off a web application. We develop a share application using Azure Cognitive Search to classify the information, to extract entities about all these documents. And then we did a web application where the citizen can share for this information. And also, we developed a new way to browse this document using facelet and using tags and filtering and so on. The solution, the high-level architecture of the solution is based on Azure Cognitive Search. The first step of all is to scan all the documents. The customer have to scan all the documents of the port and read all the documents and define a metadata of this document. Define some XML where the metadata reside about an expert that read the document and write this metadata. Then with this PDF and this with metadata, we create a pipeline, a cognitive search pipeline, where we use this cognitive search to extract information from the document. We use a person entity extraction, organization entity extraction, OCR, image tagging, and also we develop a custom document correlator. We need to generate a correlation between the metadata that the expert define for the document and to the information that we will have in the share index. So with this custom document, with this custom skill, we can correlate the information between the initial state of the process of scanning and the final state that we are exposed this information in the shared service. Then we develop a web application. There's a web application where we expose the share index, where the user can share for the documents. Let me show you the application. I need to switch to 6. I need your password. Please, don't say. Okay, this is a web application. It's a development environment and has some books. I find a book tomorrow, searching for some document. But first of all, sorry for the Spanish. It's a Spanish application, and I'm trying to explain in English, okay? The first of all, we can make a share. For example, we can share for Grau. We have the suggestion of the Azure share. We can show more result of the information. We can show the image of the document. We have the facelet to make a refinement of the information. We can filter about this kind of information and show all the documents with the metadata. Okay, we have all the metadata from the face scanning and also the automatic metadata that we extract from the pipeline of the cognitive share. Okay. Also, the document can be downloaded. I just said this and key. I think this is not the good one because it is bigger. Not translate. Let me find a smaller. I think this one. Yep. And they have this is kind of document that we are working on it. It's an old one. This is the book. I need to refresh the page. We have advanced search. We can define a field with some query okay, so we can share with a filter of the Azure share, and also we have a classification tree with all the documents and all the information that we have in the Azure share. For example, we can view this type of document, not this, okay. And the last, I can use something like a shopping cart, where we can download more than one document, okay? For example. So using Azure Cognitive Search is the best way to do this kind of job. The pipeline of custom skill and cognitive skill let us to process all the document and introduce our custom process, our business logic using cognitive share and using our code in a function or something like this. So this is our project.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Switching back to the slides. All right, so what was in play? Well, what was actually happening here? So let's talk a little bit about the service components that are involved, right? So you have a data source, you have a skill set, and you have an index, right? The search index is where you can perform queries later. The data source is where, let's say, the images live before they're processed, right? They're unprocessed information. And then you've got a skill set, and that's where the magic happens, and that's where we're going to focus most of the, if not all, of the rest of the session today. The indexer is what stitches it all together, right? An indexer knows about the data source, an indexer knows about the skill set, and it also knows about the index, and it's managing the entire pipeline. So let's get moving forward. Oh, so one thing before I move too much past, I did want to do a call out for basically one of the last sessions of the entire conference. Of course, we got the best time possible. There's a Friday session to go deeper into the Azure search side, the search indexed side. So if you'd like to see more about what we're doing on the search index side, keep an eye out at least for the code, and you can kind of maybe refer to it later if you're not there. But if you are, I'm sure Liam would love to have you. So please do attend that session. So let's talk about what a skill set looks like. So this is just something, it's like a sample, right? So let's think about this of what is a skill set so we can start visualizing what we're talking about. So to the left of this, before we got here, we cracked a document open. And let's say it was a Word document that contained images and it contained text, like it's got charts, graphs, diagrams, that kind of thing, as well as just text that's normally you would see and expect to see in a Word document. So you have almost like two different feeds. You've got the text that we were able to pull out of the document plus the images we were able to pull out of the document. Well, both of them need to be processed in some way to kind of pull out more interesting information. And so first you send the images through to do face detection, object detection, printed text recognition, OCR, right? So then that's what that merge skill is. So it kind of, as it's moving its way through, you put all of the text that output from every image plus every the part of the document to, in context with one another, actually be able to then merge the text, and then you process that full body, we call it merged text, to do all the entity extractions. In this case, it's organization entity extraction, location, person. And then out of this, we produce a big tree of information. Think of it as like a nested large document. I'll show you kind of some examples in a second of information that then you decide how that gets mapped into your target. Like if you want to put it in the index, you need to figure out, well, what does the structure of the index need to look like, and what information do I need to have in it to build the application that I want? Which is usually why you would start with the final resting place. Like you think about it from the purposes of the index. What do I want to build? What search application do I want to build? And then what steps do I need to go through to actually get the data there in that format? So let's talk a little bit about Howden. I'll move on a little bit. This is, they wanted to have a nice RFP scenario. They want to be able to respond very quickly in their bidding process to be able to get win deals more quickly. And so what they had, if you look at the skills here, they've got things like printed text recognition, OCR, key phrase organization. The bottom row is pretty much all out-of-box skills. But at the top here, they created their own risk. Metadata extraction is the standard document or file metadata. But the engineering standards extraction and the risks extraction, those are the two custom skills that they built. And in this case, like something like engineering standards extraction, they're looking at the technical information that's in the document that they really care about. And that's what the enrichment is that they're actually trying to get. They're trying to, out of these large technical documents, extract the metadata for what are these documents about? What are they referring to? And make the importance of that information much, much higher in their search experience so that they find those documents much more rapidly. And so one thing, now I'm going to give you an example of how you might build this. I'm not saying that this is how Howden is doing it, but it's like this is how you might go through the process of building a skill like that. Let me switch over. . 'Cause So we have a plethora of samples out there that I'd love for you to take a look at. This is all in the second to last slide or so of the deck. These are the links that I was referring to. First off, there's a solution accelerator. This contains an end-to-end application. It's got the client, it's got the back end, it even has some sample data for you to try, and you can run it through the pipeline and kind of get an understanding of what it means to basically use cognitive search. The next is the knowledge mining workshop. So the solution accelerator is effectively a bunch of components you can just kind of throw out there and start using. This is actually to teach you how to walk through it. There's several modules that actually uses the client from the solution accelerator in a lot of ways. But then there's 7 or 8 total modules here to actually educate you about how to perform knowledge mining using Azure Cognitive Search. So it's another thing just to kind of look out there for. And then the one slightly newer of all of these things, this is a little bit newer. We had some samples out there for custom skills. This is what we're calling, oops, I got to get that out of the way so I don't hide it, the power skills. Right, and what these are samples. These are specifically custom skills that are out there in GitHub that you can use as the basis for your own skills. Some of them that I'll point out there are the analyze form. Who here is familiar with the form recognizer and is interested in the form recognizer? This is the custom skill you can use to wrap the form recognizer API in the cognitive search pipeline. And so it helps you get started with that, and then you kind of just plug it right in. It's super simple. It takes a little bit of work, but it actually is the code that you can use to start actually just plugging it right in. Another big one that that's the one I'm going to do a demo of in a second, is the custom entity lookup, which it's not using like a trained model in the back end. It does a little bit more of like regex/fuzzy matching to find mentions of certain pieces of trained information, and you are effectively just telling it what you want to look for in that. So without further ado, let me just kind of move forward a little bit, and I can talk about what it is that we're, oops, wrong way. All right, so first off, let's talk about what it means to build a custom skill. And I'll walk through the process of building a custom skill. So let's say I want to find product names mentioned in a block of text. And that's usually the way you think about this. You break it down to a logical, small problem. You may have a huge, big problem. You try to break each individual piece of that problem down as much as possible, as you do with any good technical problem. In this case, let's just say that we're just looking for product names. And we would eventually like to understand this is a very specific product, like if you want to disambiguate between something from Google or Amazon or Microsoft, that kind of thing. So first off, the first thing you want to do is, well, let's talk about the 3 rules of any good skill. First off, like I was talking about, when you break it down, a skill has one job, right? You give it one job. You don't want to try to make it too complex. Each individual skill should be single purpose. The skill should be efficient. We're talking about doing it at scale. If you build a poor performing skill, then that's going to be the thing that's slowing down your content ingestion pipeline. And you don't want that. You want it to actually work and be as speedy as possible. And it must be able to handle real world data. So it should be fault tolerant, and in particular, be able to report faults to the upstream consumers of that data, right? And if you have bad error handling and bad error reporting specifically, you're not going to know where a failure actually came from. The next is, let's talk about the inputs. So the first thing is single purpose. In this case, we're going to input, learn how to leverage Azure storage. So let's say I took this from the docs. This is like a documentation page. The output of that, I want to produce a set of entities. It's like a collection of entities that are mentioned in this doc page. Then I want it to be efficient. So if I start with just a single value and I have to make this call for every single time I want to pull out a product name, that would not be efficient. So let's give the ability to have a list input into the API and not a singular value. And then you could produce an output. Obviously, that's a list as well. Next is, let's make it work in an imperfect world. So we give it an ID, each entry, so that we know which one failed. So it's understanding a little bit more about what's coming in and what's going out in each individual item that actually has some sort of issue with it. And then the next logical thing is to add some error handling, right? And so if you have errors, you could have something like error input text too long, which you do want to set limitations on some of these things. You don't want the blobs to be, a blob of text to be far too large and that kind of thing. So let's actually jump in and look at some code. So this solution, let me stop it real quick. see everything okay. So this solution here was pulled down from GitHub, the GitHub that I showed you, the power skills. And it's got a whole bunch of skills in it, and they're all structured basically the way it was described, text, there's text analytics skills and everything. The one that we're looking at right now is the custom entity lookup. And it's actually really easy to get started with, at least. There's a words.csv file in the solution, and all you need to do is just add the list of all the words that you want it to look for. And from the perspective of what I was doing here, I wasn't too concerned about misspellings and that kind of thing. But you can do fuzzy matching on this. I did exact matching for this demo here. And I just took this as a list of products from Microsoft. And then it does a little regex. You can see the code for regex, or I hope you can see the code for regex right there. And so let me run it real quick. And as with any good, and I'm not expecting everyone to be a developer here, but I'm just going to kind of walk through what the general process would look like. This is an Azure function, so it's going to set up the little local host environment here. And then that's what I would call that local function for the custom entity lookup skill. I have a pre-canned call here. So this is going to send the collection of values. You can see the pattern that I described in the slides with values 1, 2, 3, and that kind of thing with the text. So very simple inputs here. Let's say I run it. And then all the skill's doing, if I look at the pattern, that's the first product name in that document that I showed you with a regex pattern that was just basically crafted for Azure DevOps. Find Azure DevOps in the input text. And the input text is exactly as you would expect it to be. It's the text that was passed in. And so think about that happening, several million times to process all of your content, kind of as part of your enrichment pipeline. And so let's say like we're kind of moving things forward here a little bit, and like looking here, we can actually see, let's see where, of course I didn't open this one up. Hopefully we can get this back going. So I have a poorly named indexer that I ran over 2 documents, and those 2 documents were just text documents that had that same input in it, so that we can get like a one-to-one kind of comparison with what we were trying to do. Let's look at the skill set really quick. And by the way, this is, if you're familiar with the Azure Cognitive Search and you're familiar with how this has worked in the past, one big improvement recently is the ability to see in the portal the definition of your skill sets. And it's a fairly flat JSON list, but you can see and update. So you can see the definition of your skill sets as opposed to having to go out to Postman to actually update them. We did a demo yesterday. It's a very nice improvement so that you're actually locked in. So I put the definition of the custom skill right here first. So first, there's a little bit of registration metadata. You can see things like the name of the function and some other things. Actually, I think I do have that better laid out in slides. So why don't I just go back over here? Let's talk about the actual information itself. When you're visualizing what's happening, right? This, let's say, is what's happening outside of the bounds of your skill. The document is the content itself. The file was being processed, it was cracked open, you had some text that was being processed out of it, but then you had another skill called the technical terms skill. And for this last example, that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to understand what the technical terms are. Well, you could decide, I want this skill to be called once for every single one of those terms and let me know if it's a product or not. And so then you could have the output of your skill go as a child of technical terms. And so you say, well, it's a technical term, but also is this technical term actually referring to a product? Maybe that's what you wanted to do. But you also might want to have it where it's as a child of the top level node. So maybe you don't want to process individual terms, you want to just process the entire content of the document and then find all mentions of products there, right? And so you would actually say, all right, at the document level, and then merge content, in this case is the name of the text that's in the full document, and process it there, and then produce the output to be underneath the main document. So in this case, the product entities would be a list of all products mentioned in the text of the document. And so this is the skill definition. I didn't want to kind of jump ahead here. So this is the JSON that we use for defining a skill. So obviously there's first the web API skill. which, by the way, can be literally any web API, REST-based, taking on input and then producing a JSON output that can be processed. Azure Functions, amazing for this. So gotta give them kudos for they're very good hosts for Azure for our custom skills. In this case, give it a name. Name is really good at understanding where did your errors come from, because if you don't give it a discoverable name, sometimes you'll just say it's skill 1, 2, 3, and then you're like, what the hell, skill 1, 2, 3? That's not really going to help you when you're trying to diagnose a problem later. Same thing with the description. The URL is pretty standard. Batch size. So that's what's defining how many of these inputs are we going to send to your API at a time. The pipeline actually deals with batching these things up and then calling the API the number of times that you want it to, or with the number of items that you want it to. And this will be based on how much processing you think you can handle in your skill as it kind of goes through that information. The context, like we talked about, that's actually where in the document do you want this to run? Do you want it to run for the root and then maybe loop over some of the child options? Or do you want it to just run very kind of small, kind of very granular times for each individual item? Inputs, in this case, document is the output of the document cracking skill. So it's always called document. Merge content is obviously what the output of the merge skill that takes images and other things and merges them all the output of that into one field of information. Entities is what you're producing. So we're producing something called entities with the output of the skill is a thing called entities. The target name of what we're putting onto the tree of information that I just showed you is a field called product entities. And so let's, actually let me go back to finish up the demo really quick and show you what this actually looks like in the portal. All right, so if we look through here, we can see this content is the text that's from a flat text file, so nothing's fancy here. And you can see in this case, a lot of products are mentioned. Azure Storage includes Azure Blobs, Data Lake, Azure Files, all of which have a mention. What's kind of interesting is as you compare and contrast between different skills themselves, this has, by the way, all out-of-box skills running on it plus the custom skill. So you can see that organizations, Azure Blobs, Azure Files, Azure Queues, and Azure Tables are all determined to be organizations by the out-of-box text analytics API. I didn't force it to do that. It actually just is what it does. Same thing with key phrases, which makes sense. Those are very atomic, comma-delimited values. It makes sense that those would be key phrases. And then we could look at product names. So each one of those was matched and found in the input document. And you can see Azure Storage, Blobs, Data Lake into, Files, Queues, and Tables. And that's the collection that you have. And then you can decide, I want those product names to go into the index, and then you can query off of it. Or you can build a faceted search where you say, give me all documents that refer to Azure Storage, and you'll be able to kind of do faceted navigation as a value there. Because it's much easier to do that, obviously, when you have a string collection of very specific product names versus the text that's actually in the document itself. All right, I got 7 minutes left, perfect. All right, so let's talk about 2 more final scenarios and then we'll wrap it up. So Royal IHC, like I mentioned, they do like shipping and deep sea kind of manufacturing. Their big scenario was customer service. And they wanted to speed up the amount of time, or reduce the amount of time, speed up the response time for helping out their customers, right? Making it so that their agents and that can actually find the information that they're looking for more rapidly. So they had, their out-of-box skills that they use were printed text recognition, key phrase extraction. The shaper skill is about taking something that doesn't look like the structure that you would want it and massaging it into another structure as a skill, right? So it's like a utility, and it helps you kind of massage things around. It's got technical keyword sanitation, format definition minor, and this is about like the technical terms. They're trying to actually look these technical terms up in their repository and making sure that they refer to it in the right way. They have dirty data that sometimes they refer to it in one way, sometimes they refer to it in a completely different way. Let's normalize all of this so that when you're looking for something, you're referring to it in a well-established format. And then similarly, the large-scale vocabulary matcher that's like an entity extraction for their specific industry terms, right? Like they have a very large corpus of information that they use in their own industry, and they want to look up their entities from that. So one scenario there as well for Royal IHC is an international company. They have a huge number of people that they work with around the globe. And so they need a lot of their content to be translated to multiple languages. And so what they did is they put the translate skill into this pipeline. And the last time we talked about this at Build, we were talking about how translate is this nice custom skill that you can use. Well, no more. It's now an actual built-in skill. And so as you look at those power skills, it's almost like an incubation kind of place for us to try out new things before we put them in potentially as a built-in skill. No guarantees, but that's usually a good sign if it's one of our power skills that it is something that might appear in the product as a built-in skill in the future. But that's really good for making sure your content is in as many languages as possible. So I'll close it out with iCertis. iCertis does contracts, kind of legal document understanding, pulling the terms out of the contract and making them easily more discoverable and more useful to their users. They're kind of an ISV in the legal and financial document space. They had an interesting scenario because they're doing a lot of very sensitive documents. They have like clause extraction and clause classification. That's the contracts. Contract understanding skills. That's what they specialize in. Then they also do, one of the more common scenarios now is PII detection and GDPR risk. So they process these documents there and identify mentions of personal information and then flag the document as potentially containing PII or some other forget-me style of GDPR risk information, and then let you kind of know that that's there. And so one other thing is that these are sensitive documents. And so a lot of times, and this is a problem that we had in the past, we weren't able to process documents that were encrypted, that were, for example, if it was an Office document, like a Word document that required a password, we couldn't process them. Well, now you can have a skill, it's called the document cracking skill, that you can put into your pipeline where before it gets to that skill, you can do whatever it takes to unlock the document. And so it's only unlocked in memory while it's being processed. You don't actually have to go change the document itself. And so in this case, you would put an API or a skill before it that is your unlock skill or decrypt or whatever it is skill. And then you pass in just base64 encoded text to the document cracking skill. And it's the base64 encoded text for the raw binary of the file. It knows how to identify the format of the document and make sure that it's cracked appropriately, like getting the text out of it. And then in this case, let's say that they wanted to do the exact same thing as the last example and translate it to all these different languages. From there on, it could pick up just like any other translate scenario, where the document cracking in this case was done before it got to the other skills, but you didn't have to actually rebuild any of the other pieces. They were all just basically ready to go because you had already done that work for another skill set. So with that, let's do a little quick summary. So we talked about some example customer use cases. 4 of them talked about some problems that the various industries face. We talked about what it would take to create like a custom skill and integrate it into your enrichment pipeline. And then we talked about some new skills, custom entity lookup, translate skill, document cracking. Unfortunately, my email address fell off of there. You can either reach out to us at this, this link is to the Azure Search Contact Us alias. That's our public-facing email address. We're more than welcome for you to use it if you go and look at the deck later. Or my email address is mcarter@microsoft.com. Feel free. It's in the deck. I feel bad now because I didn't realize that it fell off the bottom of the slide. And then we talked about some other things. Oh, there it is. Oh, you had it. Okay, great. So you feel free to take a picture of that. So the KM Solution Accelerator, the KM Workshop, the Power Skills, we showed those links. And then obviously I already talked about the Contact Us alias as well. And feel free to come up if you have questions at the end of the session. So thank you.